And then I put Ephesians 5:8. So the Lord really put this heavily upon my heart as we were making this transition, that if you were once in darkness, but now you are in the light in the Lord, walk as children of the light. And so I always feel that we are in a very dark time in society, and all the things that are going on and trying to hamper the Word of God and trying to hurt God's people. And so for me, it was, we are here to be a light for the children. We're here to be a light for the families, for the parents. And then in that, we want to walk as children of light and help the children as well grow up to learn to be children of light. So that was kind of something the Lord had shared with me. And so I believe we'll probably have several verses all throughout the halls, but that's going to be one of them. Next one. My heart has always been to have the church open as much as possible. I think that's Pastor Jeff's heart as well. And so some additional things other than just regular Sunday service that I would like to do. Family nights, so using this space or the sanctuary, clear out all the chairs, show a VeggieTale movie, have popcorn, have all the families be able to come out and just get together. It's not just about caring for the kids, it's about caring for the families. And so I feel like society has really hampered family time and the value of the family itself. So I want our church to be able to minister to families and not just the kids. Also movie nights. So like I said, VeggieTales and beyond that even, I want to have, mommy and daddy night out kind of things where I'll be here, and if there's other people that are willing, and we allow parents to drop off their kids and go out and, just really taking care of the kids and allowing this to just be a fully utilized space, Monday through Sunday. Yes?
Will you be utilizing that as well? Because you and Heather also need
I will try.
Just making sure.
We'll probably do like a rotation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. So, also children's carnivals and VBSs. So I've had the opportunity to meet with several other children's ministry pastors, and they've shared on different things that they're doing. So this year, just because of the transition, we don't really have time to do a VBS, and I'm taxed pretty thin just trying to get this place operational. But next year, I definitely want to do a VBS, so reaching out to the community, like I said. But we may try to do the children's carnival, so setting up just little booths that allow them to do a little quick game or something and have it relate back to the Bible and be something that they can learn and open up to the community, put signs out, maybe put posters and that kind of stuff, and just see what the Lord wants to do with it. And then also, I know Pastor Jeff has a huge heart for harvest festivals. So Calvary Aurora does a huge one with massive tents, and there's hundreds of people that come out. So we do have the parking lot, and so not these 2 rows here, but the next 2 rows over are ours, and we can do with it what we want. So maybe potentially getting some tents and just have the kids come out. So trying to counter the whole Halloween thing and really make it more focused about Jesus. So, and still allow them to get costumes on and have a good time. So, and many more. Let's see. Ephesians 3:20-21. Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us, to him to be glory to the church by Christ Jesus, to all generations forever and ever. So God is going to give us the ability and the power to do all the things that we want to do. He's going to give us the strength and the courage to go after it. And so if we want to utilize this space for something, if somebody has an idea or they want to, I think we should do this, is there any way we could look into that? He's going to give us the power to do so if we ask. If we don't say anything, then, it's going to just be an idea that never had legs and grew into something. So it's kind of been my heart is that, yes, this is a facility, but it's also a home, and it's also an open door. So next one. Our mission statement has always been that we want to train up the children in the way that they should go, and so that they don't depart from the Lord. So this is kind of phase 1, if you look at it, is we want to capture their hearts as young as we can, and we want to make sure that they're learning the scriptures, make sure they're learning the value of prayer, and that they're also learning that worship is the time of singing out to God, and fellowship with one another, and really building the relationships. And so from the age of 3 on, we want to definitely hit all 3 of these points with each class. From 0 to 2, we're still doing worship with them. We're still pouring into their lives, and it's also to give the parents the opportunity to be in the sanctuary, but we still want to pray with them. We want to sing and do the songs. I know Lila and Stella, when they were roughly like age 2, they still like doing the singing and that kind of stuff, so we'd let them come over to the kids' side and sing with the older class. And so really just to capture their hearts as young as we can, because we want to make that transition to Andrew's class much easier, and then from Andrew's class to the sanctuary much easier. So if we start real young, then definitely they're going to learn from the onset of early on that, the value of being here. And it's not just we come on Sundays to church because we're required to, but we want to. Next one. This is straight from the manual. So most of what I'm talking about is directly from the manual. I'm just highlighting some of the key points. These are all the 5 requirements. Must be born again, so accepting Jesus into our own hearts, because we can't teach the young ones if we haven't first walked that walk of faith and accepting him in to do the work through us. Filled with the Holy Spirit, so that's accepting the Spirit to do the work. We know in the book of Acts, after Pentecost, that it was the Spirit that came upon them that allowed them to go about doing the works. So Jesus asked them to sit specifically and wait for the Holy Spirit so that they can go about fulfilling the ministry and spreading the gospel. So this is a big one for me. Number 4 is that I don't want people here just to fulfill a commitment and say, yep, I did my part. I want you guys to actually love being with kids and learning as they learn and growing with them. You'll learn so much about the different classrooms if you just kind of bounce around to each individual little one. You see the differences in the kids, see the difference in their ability to sit and listen, or those that, they're really rambunctious, and how do you minister to that specific child. And so for me, it's a great place to learn more about the kids, but also to help them learn more about the scriptures. And the last one is that we do run a CBI background check on everybody that comes through. It's a requirement by our insurance carrier, but it's also for the safety of the parents and for the kids. So we want to make sure that they know that while their kids are in our custody, that we're going to take care of them and make sure that they're always well cared for. So, next one. Doctrinal belief. So this is directly from our website. We have a full list of all the things that we believe. And basically all I want to highlight is that if at any point you've got questions about what Westminster Calvary believes and teaches, feel free to ask me, feel free to ask any of the other pastors. You can go online and find that whole list, and then if there's any questions at all, really I just want to make sure that we are teaching the exact same thing. So we mirror our teachings off of what the sanctuary is teaching. So mom and dad are getting the exact same thing as the kids. So we're not, 2 different gospels, 2 different talk. It's all the same. So we're trying to make sure that we're aligned. And it's all really stemming back to Amos 3:3, is that can 2 walk together unless they are agreed? So if we're not all like-minded in what we're teaching, what we're saying, and what we're doing, then there's going to be confusion, which will lead to chaos. So we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We'll go to the next one. So I gave a breakdown of both services. So this is roughly what 9 a.m. looks like for me. And this will be, I guess, current and future. I'm hoping we can keep with the same roughly format. So all teachers and helpers, I'm looking to have everybody here by 8:30, just so that we have ample opportunity to pray, to make sure the crafts are set up, and then we have everything we need to get going. And then we start accepting children from about 8:50 up until roughly 9:10. There's some latecomers, so when we do check-in here, it will be radically different than what we do on the other side, so I'll kind of walk you through that when we get there. And then for me, roughly from 9:05 to 9:20, I do worship. So this classroom here will be where we do worship. So each classroom will do its own check-in, and then all the older classes will come here. Just because this class ends up being a little bit larger than the rest of them, just because of the way that the building's kind of laid out. So we will have desks in here. I'm gonna see if we can get the ones with rolling wheels so we can easily push them to the side, which will open up this whole space. And then we have Scott Waggy has been practicing and learning the guitar, so he's gonna come and do worship for us. And then we're also gonna keep petitioning to get some other people who are musically inclined and just try to get a rotation. The church I came from, they had 3 or 4 guys that were good on the guitar and could sing, and they'd have little instruments, and they would just rotate throughout the course of the month. So that's kind of my end goal. For now, we'll use Scott and then my beautiful and lovely voice, and we'll kind of go from there. And then also, so once you get to roughly 9:20 to 10, that's when we'll break back up to our classes. We'll disperse back to their classes, and from there, we will start the lesson. So I usually shoot for about a 40-minute lesson with some activity. The younger kids, it's a little bit harder just because their attention span's a little bit shorter. So that's where I'll do maybe 5 to 10 minutes of talking through the felt board lesson or going through a specific part of the text that we're studying, and then do some sort of activity or craft to remind them of what we're talking about. I think that tends to work well because most of them, after about 15 minutes of just continually talking, you've lost their attention. And so if you don't do something where they either get up and move around, or you change direction and then it becomes, I'm not listening and watching, I'm touching something, they'll start getting more, they'll follow you better. And so we really want them to retain the lesson, so that's kind of how I've been able to minister effectively to all the different age brackets. And then from 10 to 10:15, I usually do the craft and the snack. So I try to hold that off till roughly around that time frame. If service goes a little bit long, then you'll still be doing that, and they won't be getting up and running for the door. They'll still be working on something. And if you get to 10:15, you still got a little bit of time. grab the kids and have them work with you to help clean up. So I know the babies have the stuff where we need to wipe down everything. The older classrooms, it'll be putting away supplies, getting the totes reloaded for the next class. And then once you've got to that point, I usually will do worship songs with them or some activities and games. So I can kind of show you some different things we've been doing there. I never really thought about doing the games, but from talking to the True family that came through that's going to Ireland, they had told me a different mentality really of just trying to use those things and incorporating them into the teaching. So I've actually been doing it for the past 2 weeks, and it's been really successful. So I think the kids like it because it gets them involved. You can make them biblical, and it makes it, you know, still focused on the Bible. One of the ones we've been doing, I've called, what do I call it? The Good Shepherd. So I have a noodle, one of those swimming noodles, and so the shepherd has the noodle, and then there's 5 kids that are in the sheep pen who are the sheep, and everybody else is wolves. And so the shepherd has to use the noodle, and they whack the other ones to get them away from the sheep. And so they really like the game. It seems to go over really well. So you have to lay down some ground rules. I will say that much. So no whacking in the head, and then if you're hit with the noodle, you go back, and the sheep can't get up and run around. So just simple stuff like that. It keeps them engaged. So we're going to go to the next one. The exact same format, just the later time. So you can see we try to. So the hardest part is really going to be the transition because second service, I want the teachers to be able to come early, but you'll still have your first service teachers in there. So for this one, I said arrive right around 10:20, and then service starts right around 10:45. So in those times, you can kind of be getting together all your supplies, getting things squared away, and then praying. Sometimes we can go to the back and just pray off to the side, or if the class ended earlier on time, then you can go in and kind of start setting stuff up. But otherwise, it's more or less the same format. I found this works well. If you've got another slew of things that you do and it seems to work well, stay with it. But for me, this has kind of been the format that I've historically gone with, and the kids seem to respond pretty well to it. So, you want to go to the next one? So, arrival times. Like I mentioned, I definitely do want teachers half an hour early and the helpers as well. We don't have to set up in here, which is nice, but it would be nice to be able to get in, get your crafts all squared away. If there's stuff that you need to cut or supplies you need to put out, makes it much easier to do if you're here a little bit early. And then I'll leave it up to the teachers. It's your discretion if you want to receive the kids a little bit early. I know leadership children are usually here from 7:45 in the morning, so if you're okay with them coming into the class, that's great. It helps us out. If not, then you can say, check-in will be at 10 or 9, 8:45, 8:50. And then we'll start checking them in there. So it's up to you. If you've still got stuff to put together or you haven't prayed, don't feel that you have to take them. There's more than enough room over there. We're the smaller side of the building, so you don't want to overburden yourself trying to watch the kids while still trying to set up all the classroom stuff. Each classroom will have all its own supplies. So either kind of tinkering with different ideas that we get those little rolly carts, then each classroom can have their cart wheeled in when their time to go, or we'll put stuff in here. Because we have such limited space in each class, I'm trying not to put so much furniture, just to try to leave open spaces for people to move around. So that's what I was thinking, if we put one cabinet at the very end classroom and then just have it all checked out at each class, it still kind of keeps the floor space open. With the 2 buildings, security purposes, I want to make sure that we have all the kids taken care of. So after they're checked in, basically just close the door and keep them in. And then if you see kids running around, try to grab them and make sure that they go with mom and dad, because it is a public space. There is a lot of foot traffic that goes along the hallway here. I've been here at all hours of the day, and there's a million people that travel around. So with Pizza Hut 2 doors down, and Jenny Craig, and there's other restaurants, you'll definitely see a lot of people. So we want to make sure that we have the kids in custody at all times. And that's another point to kind of reemphasize with the parents as well, is that we want to make sure that as we make this transition, it just kind of starts over the clock and says, all the things we've been doing in the rec center, it's just kind of how we've been operating, but we really want to tighten it back up when we get here, because we want to make sure that we get everybody used to the same policies and procedures. So we want to make sure that, chain of custody, so having them signed in, signed out, and then with mom and dad otherwise is a really big important thing for me. And
along the same lines as security, is the doors locked? Like, are we locking doors
So
or
each
anything?
door does have a lock. It's external, but I think we can flip these pretty easily, so they could be locked from the inside. I'll have to kind of gauge how I want to do that. But yes, so the front door locks, back door locks, and each classroom locks.
Okay, good.
So for me, another big important thing, so the reason, Some of us know this, some of us don't, but the reason we split to 2 services, does anyone have an idea why?
Split the 2 services between like 9 a.m. and 10.
10:45. So we always had 1 service before that, but then we split. Does anyone know why we did that?
Because it kept growing so big.
Real loud, real loud.
So that the teachers could go to service.
Yes. So the only reason we did that was so that we would allow the teachers the opportunity to come. So my request has always been that if you're serving second service, make sure that you come to first service, and then vice versa, just because we want you to stay in fellowship. Kind of like Pastor Justin and talked about today, is why does the church exist? It's for us to be believers, to link together. It's also for us to reach out to the community, to reach out to non-believers. But if you're not in service and you can't be fed week by week, then you'll get dry and crusty. And that is something I experienced, because before we had this, I served every weekend back here. And so maybe once a month, maybe once every other month, I would be in service. And it does impact you, I will say, because you're not getting fed the word. Even though I'll listen at home or listen all the time when I'm at work, it's not the same thing, because you're not having the fellowship with the individuals. So for me, that's a big sticking point. So please don't be offended if I come and ask you if, you came here second service and you weren't here first, and I'll say, hey, just go sit in service. We'll figure it out. Because it's very important for me that we all are getting fed, because I don't want to see anybody get burned out. So, any questions? Okay, next one. Check-in process. So, we are going to transition. So, we are going to get rid of the cards. It's good and bad. I like the cards system, but this is actually a little bit more compliant with what we need to be doing. So, each classroom will have a color-coded binder. So this one will have a purplish pink one. The blue classroom is the one right next door to us. So you can see on the cover, 0 to 2. It's got our logo inside. There'll probably be 50 or so copies of this, which is our sign-in sheet. So there's 30 available spots on here. Each child's name will be entered, which corresponds to a ticket. So the ticket is just going to be a laminated little card, which is what the parents will take with them. They're going to put any allergies or anything like that, and then in and out time. And what this will allow us to do is, when they take the ticket, they'll take that to service with them. If there's any problems or we need to contact the parent, we just flash the color and the number so that they'll know that there's something going on. It's the exact same system as what we had, except instead of having the unique cards, it's got classroom-specific cards. So it allows parents to be more familiarized with the color schemes. So each classroom is specifically colored. So purple, blue, orange, and pink, which will allow each teacher to know which one they're in, and it'll also allow the parents to know where to go to pick up their children. We're also going to have, outside of each door is going to be a mounted sign that says 0 to 2, has the color scheme, and all the way down the hall, and then to the bathroom at the end. Yeah?
So on the line with that, say we have a child, because the smaller kids sometimes tend to have more issues than the bigger kids.
Yes.
If we need to contact mom or dad, what are we using to contact them so we're not interrupting service, but parents are aware that their child needs their attention?
So by using the card system, what we're going to do is there's already projector screens in there, and the sound booth will notify the sound booth. They'll put the number and the color on the screen itself, so the parent will know, oh, my child needs me, and then that way they can come over. So I've seen this working before. It's very streamlined, and it's not too much of a distraction, so it should be the quickest way to do it. Each child has the number, specific color. I think I hit all those. So, and like I said, the safety is really the number one priority for us. So, really just trying to get that aligned with the new facility. Just explains which colors they are. So, this classroom will be our 3 to 5 year old. It's originally I was going to do 9 to 11, but thinking about it, sorry, no, this is purple. Yes, it is 6 to 8. So 6 to 8, they still want to move around. They still want to get up and play games. So this is a large classroom, which allows them to do that. 3 to 5 is at the very end, which is another large classroom, gives them the same opportunity. And then the 2 middle ones are babies in the blue room and 9 to 11 in the orange room. So they don't really need that much room for 9 to 11. They're going to do more in-depth Bible study. So the games, we can kind of keep it a minimal. And then the kids' bathroom is the most annoying, bright and yellowish color I've ever put on a wall, and the servant says a brown. So we'll kind of take a tour, and I'll show you everything there, but I just want to kind of point out the colors. And I will send the slide deck so everybody will have it, just to kind of reference back to.
So then, speaking of bathrooms and breaks with the kids.
Yes.
So when we have the 0 to 2s, is there going to be a changing table in there for us to change them? So we're not having to leave the classroom because of the kid to teacher ratio thing?
Yes. So There is this ginormous changing table thing that we have. We got it from a school. It's literally about 5 feet long and 3 feet wide and about 4 feet tall. It's huge. I'm debating whether or not I want to put that in the class because it will eat up so much space. I was potentially thinking those KinderCare things that fold down from the wall.
Because there are some 2-year-olds who also are being potty trained.
Yes.
And we will have to leave the classroom that way as well.
Right.
Like today I had to take all the training girls to the bathroom.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking ahead as far as changing the situation, how that's gonna work.
So that's where, yeah, I'm on the fence about putting that thing in there. I think we'll probably initially move it over here and see how full the classroom is, but it's either that or we go with the KinderCare thing. I don't think the kids' bathroom has a changing table in it. And I don't think the adult one either. I know on the other side they do. So I think the male and female both have the changing station. So still logistically got to figure out how we want to do that. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm thinking about because I don't want teachers to have to leave. But to that, there always is going to be a teacher and a helper in every class.
And then what about comfortability as far as changing a kid's diaper, boy versus girl type of stuff? You know what I'm saying? Only because as a woman, changing a little boy's diaper, if it was my own kid, I don't have a problem with that, but maybe another mom might have a problem with, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just want to make sure that we're working something on that as well.
Yes. So that'll be another point that I reconfirm with all parents when we make this transition. Another kind of security measure there is there will be no males in the 0 to 2 class.
Okay.
So it's always females. And then basically the question is going to be, are you okay with us changing your child or do you want us to notify you?
Right.
And we'll do either way, whatever
Okay.
the parent wants to do.
That works.
So.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So keeping options. I want to be flexible with the parents. I don't want to get so
Restricted.
regimented.
I just want to make sure we have a plan in place.
Yeah, definitely stuff I'm thinking about. So, okay, you want to go to the next one? Check out. So, this is a very critical point. Each classroom is going to do its own checkout. So, this may be slightly chaotic in between first and second service. So, we have a 3-foot hall. No, maybe a 4-foot hall. This is going to become very busy when there's check-in and check-out. So, what I plan on doing is we'll get a podium and the teacher or helper, whichever one, will stand right here outside their classroom. So it'll allow the kids to come in and out, but then it still allows access to all the other classes. So this is kind of be like your traffic lane on this side, and this is the checkout lane. And basically they come, they give you the tag, they sign the book on the podium that's right here, and then the teacher or helper that's still in the class will take the child, give them to mom and dad, and off they go. So first service shouldn't be too bad. At the end of second service shouldn't be too bad, but in between it's going to be delicate. So we'll have to kind of play it by ear. If somebody shows up and they do not have the tag, we don't check off the child to them. So contact me. I'll probably be here anyway. But I want to get everybody used to the fact that you have the tag for a reason. It's how we check in and check out. We're in a public space, so we're trying to heighten our security so that, God forbid we don't want something to happen. I think the initial conversation to someone may be a little bit rough, but after that, they'll understand why we're doing it. So I don't want to put that on you guys. I want that on me. So just say, oh, let me grab Pastor Ryan. We'll handle this. It's okay. It's not a problem. And then I can explain to him why we do what we do and emphasize the fact that we need that tag at check-in and check-out. And that we need it in a timely manner, because if we don't have that, then you clog up the line. There's other people trying to get the kids. In the winters, it's going to be rough because you'll have people taking off coats and stuff. So I think if we initially use this transition as a drive home point and saying we have to do this and I really need your support, I think people will get on board. So next one. I think just emphasize the same thing there. Yep. Absences of vacation. So with the sign-in sheet, I asked for phone number and email. If we're all comfortable with that, I can send those out and we can work together. So I will work with Stephanie in scheduling and trying to make sure that everything's accommodated. But if something comes up and you need to take time off, it's not a problem. But if we can all kind of work amongst ourselves and say, I'll take your next week, if you can take my this week, we'll be out of town. And if it doesn't seem you can't get a hold of people, contact me and then I'll get it figured out. But I think if we work together as a team, it'll make it a little bit easier and less burdensome when something comes up and all of a sudden I can't get this figured out, or I don't have my lesson, I don't know what to do. So I'm more than willing to jump in and help out, but I think if we all work together, it'll definitely streamline the process.
So will you be, as far as lessons go, will you be picking what lessons each class does every week, or are the staff required to come up with their own lessons?
So I pick out all the lessons. We have Heart Sharers is the curriculum that we have. I am looking to hopefully go to Answers in Genesis because all the teachers that I've talked to from different churches have really spoke highly of it. And so I want to take a look at their curriculum and see if we can tailor it towards what we're doing. We've been doing the Heart Sharers for about 3.5, 4 years. And so I think some of the older kids are a little tired of it at this point. We've cycled through the exact same lessons. But with that, I will pull all the lessons. I'll send them out the week before. I'm also going to look to start scanning them in and sending out electronically to both helper and teacher. So that was one of the comments that came back at the training last time, is that it will help the helpers as well get on board with what's going on, during the course of the week. And if they have a good idea, something they want to do, they can kind of work together with their teacher. So, but yeah, so good question. What about this? Disturbances. So, you are not required to deal with disturbances. If something happens during the course of service, definitely let me know, because that's something, if I'm not back here, let me know what happened, let me know who was involved, how it was dealt with, and then I'll follow up if I need to with mom and dad. One of the big important things is don't wait. So if there's something that's life-threatening, if there's a child that's choking, if there's somebody trying to enter the facility, something like that, immediately call out, I need help, somebody please, make it aware that something's going on. Last thing we want to do is respond slowly and have something happen or propagate in the wrong direction. So, like I said, there will be a security team that will probably be monitoring the entire facility and walking around during the services. But that being said, I will also be here as well. And inside of every classroom, I will post my phone number, and you can text me if something goes on that's not life-threatening. And also, what I'm hoping to do is get shift leads, so a lead for each service, which then you can contact them as well. So there'll be multiple layers of contact if we need to get a hold of somebody. And if it's something like a behavioral thing that's been reoccurring, make me aware of it, and then I can work with the parents and try to figure out what's going on, try to get involved and help. Don't feel that you have to take that responsibility on yourself. So that's kind of why I'm here. That's my call. I've always been very caring and supportive for children, and I've had younger brothers and cousins and all those things, and so I just have a huge heart to care for families. And so, if you're comfortable and you want to talk to mom and dad, I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying if you are uncomfortable and you don't feel that that's kind of your forte, then push it back on me, and I'll take that responsibility. And then also, when stuff's kind of getting crazy, I always stop and pray. So when I'm in a chaotic class and there's kids jumping off the walls and just trying to get order established, I always roll it back on God and say, God, give me the strength and how to deal with this. Give me compassion for them if they're struggling, or if, a little one is just not involved and doesn't want to be involved. Lord, how do I deal with the situation? So always petition God in prayer to ask for the help. Don't take it upon yourself to say, I can solve this problem, or walk away from the class to go deal with one child, because it ultimately is going to turn the entire thing, and it's going to make it more of a challenge to get everybody back together. So keeping the flow of the class going is pretty critical, and that's why we're going to do teacher and helper for every class, so that if there is something going on, one can keep everything going and the other one can kind of jump in to help corral those that are kind of lagging behind. So, next one. Withdrawal from the ministry. If at any point you are crispy fried and you need to take a break, I am not going to harp on you. I'm not going to give you a hard time. If you want to step down, that is completely up to you. I know the burden and the stress of this sometimes can be too much. Like I said, I was at that point early on when we first came on board. And so please let me know in as much advance notice as possible, just because I can arrange teachers and kind of make adjustments. So I've asked for 4 weeks because it helps me to kind of establish the classroom, because you've built the relationship with the children, and so it's a transition for them as well. So we're trying to minimize disruptions there. So we've had teachers come, they're on fire, they're encouraged, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. And the kids are left wondering, where is so-and-so? Where is this teacher? What happened? And we don't want to do that to them. So we want to make sure that they're always cared for. And they get used to our faces. They get used to the way that we teach, and they get used to learning from us. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable. And things like this, I understand it happens, and so we'll accommodate and we'll work through it, but as much notice as possible would be great for me. All right, so these are new. This is emergency situations and how to handle them. If we have a missing child, we need to make sure that we locate them. So before, after, or during service, if you're in a class and you're going through the head count and you don't see so-and-so, immediately notify myself, immediately notify anybody that you see in the hallway. So this facility has many challenges. One, the foot traffic in the front. Two is that the back door, you can leave easily. You just push the bar. What we're going to try to do is alarm it, like the security alarms, which will go off if you hit the button. So it's got a turn on and off key. So it won't notify the police, but it will notify us. You'll hear the sound. And then also, the way that the sanctuary is laid out as well, there's a back door there that somebody could easily go out the back door and then exit the facility as well from the rear. So there's a lot of potential issues. So missing children is a huge one where I want to make sure that we immediately respond. So if something happens, escalate it up. You know, if you can't locate, if nobody knows where they are, if they can't find them, we just want to be cautious of those things. We also, violent situations. So I laughed when I first said I wrote this because it didn't. It's like, it's your church. But you know, recently there's been shootings at church. We went to Calvary Chapel Pastors Conference, and some of the senior pastors had shared that people show up with crossbows, with bows and arrows, with guns, and they want to talk to the pastors. So sadly, this is our culture and society, so these things happen. If that does happen, the door here has a lock. So if there's somebody in and around and we become aware of it, the door will be immediately locked. Each classroom can be locked. If somebody's trying to enter this specific facility, we can go out and back all the way to the end, and then you can also exit the facility as well. So immediately locking the front, vacating this classroom because you can see in from the windows. We are going to try to tint them so that you can't see in. The landlord, there's some funky things. We can't put up blinds because they said the heat gets trapped in between the window and the blind and actually destroys the seals. So they said we could tint them if we wanted to, so we'll try that. But yeah, fleeing this classroom is definitely important, and then working towards the back of the facility. And the leadership team will definitely respond to these things. So, you know, be encouraged that you're not on your own. There's always going to be somebody here looking out for you. And like I said, there would be the security team moving around. So there should be somebody responding immediately if something happened. Let's see, severe weather. So storms, tornadoes, all those other things. This wall is a structural wall. This wall is a structural wall. Nothing else in the intersectional of the breaking of the classes is. So what I would say is we will flee to the back. The bathroom, the adult bathroom, has two conjoining structural walls, and then also the hallway in the back has structural walls. So that's where I would go in the event of a tornado. We will not go outside. We will definitely flee this classroom because of glass, and also, I don't know, I guess tornado was the only thing that came to mind. Severe storms, hail, that kind of stuff. We also just want to get away from the front-facing windows. And fire or fire alarm. So each classroom has an alarm, and then the front of the facility has the pole. The other side also has the same thing. We will probably put a piece of glass over that has the security just because it's right by the front door. If at any time you see fire or smell smoke, I would immediately notify somebody and then call 911 and pull the alarm and vacate the facility. So the front of the building, there's handicap parking right there. So that would probably be our rally point in the front. So take your children with you, go that way. And then the rear of the facility is a little bit harder to get to, but if you exit out these doors, take an immediate right, and then go down around the hallway, that's the external door to the back. And then across the street is a little grassy hill, so that is probably where we will go. And there will be leaders dispersed to both, so that you've got somebody to kind of rally with. And then we'll try to rejoin children with parents, make sure that everybody's accounted for. And then people will also come back in the facility and make sure that it's been swept and it's clear. And then these will also be posted, the evacuation routes, just so we know. Inappropriate actions by the children's ministry. So these are things, they're in the manual, things that we are not required, we will not do. So I have to mention them. First, never be alone with a child. So if you're in a classroom and you're the only one here, your helper went to grab something, always leave the door open. So it's just, it allows us to always stay compliant with that so that you're never in here alone with the child. It's just good policy. Also, we do split out husband and wives. So same thing, it's just a liability. We want to make sure that that's covered. So mom will be with one class, dad will be with another. It's just, you know, unfortunately, it's always comes down to our word versus their word, and so it gives you another layer of defense because you've got someone external to a husband or a wife. At no time is it permissible to spank a child, even if it is your own. especially Stella. She's a lot of fun, but yeah. So in public, we discipline with making them understand what they're doing is wrong. In private, we would spank. So if you need to take them to the bathroom to handle something, go for it, but definitely don't do it in the classroom or in the public setting with all the other kids, and especially if it's someone else's kid. So we're here to make sure that they understand the rules and regulations. They will be posted, so you can go over them. I usually do that before I start every class and say, see these are your hands. You give them to yourself. See this is your mouth. When I'm talking, your mouth isn't moving. So they always know, and always keep your eyes on me, those kind of things. And if we just repetitively get them through that process, they'll get familiar with, these are the rules. These are the things that we do. What is that? Oh, like I mentioned before, adult male will not serve with the 0 to 2 just because of the diaper change situation. So I break this rule. I don't change diapers, but I do sometimes jump in to help out. So I will not do that anymore because I need to be a good example. So yeah, just once again accountability. And then ultimately, number 5, don't yell at the children. So I will say it's not an exception, but Joshua does have some brain damage, and as a result, he's lost hearing in one of his ears. So for him, I will either tap him on the shoulder and turn him around so that he's looking at me, so he hears you and he sees your mouth moving. Otherwise, sometimes if there's something going on and I can't immediately get to him, I'll escalate my voice just to capture his attention, but not to scold him or discipline him. But so that's just something to be aware of. But otherwise, we don't want to yell at the children. Don't use scripture as a whip. So we want to train them up in the word, not beat them down with it. So we want to make sure that they love being here. They love learning about the Bible. And so in doing that, we want to make sure that they're being educated in the word and they're growing in the knowledge of it, not using the word to beat them down and say, well, you shouldn't do this because the Bible said this, and you shouldn't. We want to build them up so that they love being here and they love learning about the Bible. And bathroom visits. So we'll take a time out here. So what we'll do is teacher or helper stays with the class. I would probably say helper is the one that would come out. Take the child with you. We're going to go down to the end of the hallway. So for accountability and to make sure that we're always covered, teacher or helper stays here. So new rule, children only go into the bathroom if they are able to handle it themselves. So we do have a small toilet. They should be able to use the facility without any issues. So stay here so that anyone can see you down the hallway. You can hear through the bathroom, so you can hear them in there and know what's going on. And I usually will check in every 2 seconds. Hey, how's it going? You guys doing all right? Almost done? If you have multiple kids with you, keep the little ones here, and then just send them one at a time and have them regroup here. And then when you're done, head back to the class. But we don't want the teachers going in with them. Let them handle it themselves, so they should be self-sufficient. So that'll be something I'll be asking mom and dad. Is the little one okay to use the restrooms by themselves? And if they say no, they'll say, oh, can you take them to the bathroom before we have service? So anyone, no matter the age, can hold their bladder for at least an hour. So we need to drive that home and make sure they're aware of the policy. And then the restroom that's right here, which is the adult restroom, is for servants only. So we're not accepting people from the sanctuary knowing that this is a bathroom trying to sneak in and use this one. There's ample restroom facilities over there. This is specifically for servants. So we will post signs at the front door on the way in. We'll also probably post some here, just near the restrooms and on the door itself, saying, we're going to ask you every time you come in, hey, do they need to use the restroom? Are they okay to use it by themselves? If so, we'll let them go and we'll take them. If not, either we kit you or you need to take them now, and we're going to tell them no potty breaks during service. So with a little bit of flexibility, if somebody's got explosive diarrhea, I don't want to tell them, sorry, sit in that chair. Okay, we can field trip back that way. Let them know that it's not okay and it's disturbing the class, and then ask them to make sure that they focus and get back engaged. If that doesn't work, the next step would be a timeout. So separating them from the situation, so brother and sister fighting, or fighting over the Play-Doh, or fighting over the toys, separate them out from that. If I'm teaching when this happens, usually what I'll do is I'll grab them and have them come be my special helper. So they'll stand next to me and they're going to hold the thing that I'm teaching from. So it keeps them engaged and allows them to still focus.
It's easy to determine whose fault it is. You put both kids in timeout?
Usually I'll just grab the one that I suspect to be the offender and then see if that works. If not, then kind of escalate from there.
Okay.
Or have the other one go with the helper. So you separate them both. Next one. Third offense, removing from distraction. So if it just keeps continuing, if they're fighting over this toy or they just can't sit still and listen, I'll separate them out. One thing I had read in one of the manuals, I haven't tried it yet, but it's worth mentioning, is that what they said to do is pull the person, separate them out, leave them off to the side, and ask them to stay in a timeout and think about 3 things. 1, what were you doing wrong that you shouldn't have? What should you be doing? And what are you going to do to fix it? and let them just give them those 3 points and let them sit there. And then come back to them periodically and say, do you have answers for all 3 of those questions? And just let them keep thinking about it. And if they don't have answers, well, then they can just stay there. And then keep going to the point where, you know, if they finally get to the end, be like, okay, let's talk through these 3 points. And then give them the explanation of why it was wrong, what they were doing, what they should be doing, and what you need them to do to get back engaged. And hopefully at that time they kind of realize, okay, I'm not doing what I should be. And then kind of cycle them back in and get them plugged in. If that doesn't seem to work, and we get to the point where it's a continuous thing, Sunday over Sunday, you have the same struggle, that's where we want to talk to mom and dad. So this is kind of where I will do it myself. And so if you guys make me aware of something, and it's something that every teacher in that class seems to be telling me, then I'll know that there's something going on. So that's where I'll grab mom and dad and say, hey, what's going on? You know, is there something, difficulties at home, difficulties at school? Is there something I can help with? You know, how can we pray for you? Trying to make sure that they understand that this behavior is distracting and is causing more chaos in the class than what we can handle. I'm gonna go to the next one. I think there's one more.
Have you ever had to go to 3 or 4?
I have many times actually.
Really?
I
Okay.
I do it in a very gentle way, so that it's not your kid's a pain, get them out of here. You know, so trying to be gentle with it. And then the last one, if this has happened, I've talked to mom and dad, doesn't seem to be working. Then myself and Pastor Jeff will pull them aside and say, hey, we have these disturbances. We need to understand what's the underlying cause. What's the really, you know, what's happening? Is there bullies at school? Is there fighting with brothers and sisters? We need to understand this because the behavior is causing a huge distraction in the class, and we can't continue to have this. Up until the point where we'll ask, if this doesn't get remediated, I need them to sit with you in service for a period of time so that they understand that their behavior will not be accepted. I have not got to this point yet, so I will say this is few and far between, but we do have a policy in place so that if we have to go that route, we will. So that was all policy and procedure. That's all the boring stuff that I had to cover. The next part is just some discussion on teaching strategy and different things that I do, duties of a helper, duties of a teacher. So I'll cover this really quick, and then there's a couple things at the end that I wanted to cover, just some examples to show you, and then that's kind of it. So I'll try to expedite and get you out of here a little bit quicker. So first thing for being a teacher, definitely be prepared. So you've got all week, you've got your lesson, look it over, read through the text, read through what they give you in the teaching manual thing itself. YouTube is a great resource, Pinterest, Heather uses it often and frequently to find stuff. So develop it to be your own. What you put into it, you'll see what you get out of it from the children. Because the more you pour into it, the more energetic you are about it, the exact same response you'll get from them. If you come in home and it was a horrible week and I've got to be here and do this lesson, guess what? The kids are going to be the exact same way because they feed off you like a sponge. I've seen it. It's happened to me many times. And so come in with excitement and energy and you'll see that in the kids. Most of them. Some of them, it's been a rough morning, they're up late, but you know, you can usually sway them to get involved. Like I said, come 30 minutes early, helps you prepare the classroom, also to prepare yourself to be ready. Leave the classroom clean. So by this, it'll give us the opportunity to be set up and ready to go for the next class so they can come in and get ready. And especially that transition period, being that it might be a little bit more challenging, really use those last 15 minutes before service ends, first service, to get everything kind of squared away, pick up all the debris. We might get those little rolling vacuum things just to pick up crumbs and stuff. Or each classroom might have a class vacuum. I'm not sure. We'll kind of see how that goes. And then also resetting the toys. What we're going to do with the babies is we'll have 2 totes. One will be the clean tote, one will be the dirty tote. So after first service, just dump it all in the dirty tote. Second service, we pop open the clean tote. And then after both services, we'll clean them both. That way there's not too much hassle trying to get everything clean, reset it. It'll make it a little bit more streamlined. Finding a substitute. So if at the last minute you're sick or children are sick, car won't start, those kinds of things, notify me, notify staff, let us know. But also that's kind of where I'm thinking if we have that rotation of phone numbers, we can reach out to one another and just say, hey, I can't make it in, could you cover for me today? Really working together as a team. I think that will really help. That way we each can take ownership. I guess my vision in the end is that we kind of each own our own classroom. So I don't really want to put a bunch of stuff in here. I want you guys to have the freedom to do what you want to do with it. Or like toys or games or stuff that you've found that's worked well. I want to be able to do that stuff here. So for me, you know, I love being here and I'll spend my entire day here, but there's so much different things that we can do with the kids to get them involved and make sure that they have fun, and so really be able to take ownership of it.
So would you like coordinate meetings so like we have all the teachers from 3 to 5 together for us to do that, or is that on the 3 to 5 teachers?
So we do a quarterly meeting, just a check-in meeting to see how everybody's doing. Otherwise, maybe we could do like a shift huddle with all the different ages, just to see where everybody's at, or good ideas, bad ideas. So that's a good idea. Might put that together. I want to do like a servants night for over here, where we can all kind of get together, provide food, get together and play games or something. You know, so it's not just I'm over here serving a kids ministry, but having fun together. So that's a good idea, where we could bring that up and spend half hour, 45 minutes, go through each age bracket, break out into little groups and do a project together, and kind of build that camaraderie. So that's something. That's a good idea. That's right. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this is our yearly overhaul one that we're going over, but every quarter we go through policy changes, ministry changes. One thing that we will probably roll out, so there's an app where you can do check-in, so that may be something I'll evaluate, but there's also a system where you can print out cards and labels. That's another thing that I was thinking about. So we'll have to see how the logbook things go for a while. I know this is what CC Aurora does, and Pastor Michael said it works well, so that may be something I stay with. If we have challenges because of our limited hallway space, we might need to go with something else. So just being flexible with that, but I'll keep you updated kind of as we make the transition. Know your age group. So each age group is different, and if you tried something that worked well with 3 to 5 with a 9 to 11, I will guarantee that it will probably not go well. So each one has a different attention span. Each one has different things that are important to them, things that they think about, and so in that, there are things that you will find that work great no matter what age bracket. For me, it's always been acting it out. So the little guys love it because they get to get involved. The older guys, it takes a little bit more coaxing, but read through the scripture, then assign a part to each person and say, hey, let's act this out so we understand it, making it fun. 2 weeks ago, we did the 12 spies entering into the land. So I had those little noodle things, and I just brought a bag of fruit from home and laid it on the ground, and I had Jack and Chad and Eric be the giants in the city, and we went in, and the kids had a blast, and it was good. And they remembered the story because it was something that got them engaged, got them thinking about it. So for me, that's always been what's worked well. I usually incorporate that every time that I teach. So just take the time to really understand your kids and see what they thrive off of, what's things they struggle with. You can't stand up here and give them a 45-minute dissertation on salvation by faith through grace, because they over that. So next one, stay humble and teachable. So you will never have it fully figured out. You will never fully understand. There will always be things to learn, and so that's where I share as much stuff as I get every time I meet with a different pastor who's got something going on in their ministry. Twice a year, we meet corporately, several of the children's ministry pastors, and we kind of talk through what's going on. So I take a lot of those ideas, try to filter them in here. Different pastors I've met, different ministries I've had the opportunity to be with, and to understand different things, and just trying to incorporate that, because there's so many different things that maybe we never even thought to try, maybe somebody else tried because they thought it would work and it worked great, and so sharing that information. And if you have anything, feel free to let me know, shoot me an email, whatever works. But we need to learn from each other, because there's always something that we can do better. And really it's just to get the children to know Jesus and to get them to learn about him, and so if that's the focus, you can't do anything wrong. So. Communicating with the parents. So we don't always want to just tell them about the discipline and the things that they weren't listening or paying attention. Usually the craft or the coloring sheet, I try to make sure their name is on it, and then I try to grab it and make sure the parents get it. And if I get an opportunity to share with them a little bit about what we learned, just so that they know that this isn't a daycare. I mean, we're here to teach them about the Word of God, and so making sure that that's going home with them. If there's something that they need to work on at home, I know the older classroom has memory verses. They also have a prayer journal. And Heather really challenges them to stay engaged outside of here, so that we know that they're still doing those things. And so I'd like to roll that out for the younger kids. I'm not quite sure how. I know we could do it with coloring sheets, because they seem to really like those. But you want to make sure that it sticks. And so any way that you can find to have take-home stuff or activities they can work on and then report back in, that has worked really well for Heather, because it keeps the kids engaged. So. Duties of the helper. So the helper, the way that I kind of envision it is the person that allows the flow to continue. So the helper should be the one that helps with the crafts to make sure that all the kids are getting engaged and they're working on the craft. Also the one to make sure that the teacher has all the supplies they need, if there's disturbances or the kids are getting rambunctious, to kind of intercede before it blows up. So that's kind of how I envision the role. be flexible with it. I mean, if you've got something you want to share, definitely interject. Yeah, whatever the Lord puts upon your heart, just be flexible with it. Work with your teacher as well. Make sure, you know, if there's something they want to talk about, but they want to give you this, maybe they can split the lesson in half and each do whatever works. Ideally, I would like everybody to be a teacher so we could all flex around, because the helper is a much easier responsibility. I know some people aren't comfortable with that, so we'll kind of grow into it, and the Lord will provide in due season, so we'll kind of be flexible. But definitely, yeah, just being there to be a support, to be extra hands, the bathroom visits, and also getting crafts and snacks together. So, I think I kind of covered everything. Oh, also greet the parents. So we want to make sure that the parents know this shirt, know what it means, and know that you serve in the kids ministry. Also to know your face, because they know that you're interacting with their children. So we don't want to just be, you know, this name that your kid keeps mentioning, but they want to be somebody that's actually pouring into their lives. So make sure you try to interface with mom and dad too. I think we kind of got some requests like we kind of talked about. Yeah, so any age bracket can hold their bladder for at least an hour. So if it gets to a point, well, I need to go. Oh, mom and dad will be right back. You know, it's 10 services over 10 minutes. Can you hold it? Can you wait? It'll be okay. Usually what I found works really well is if they will pester you and like you take another child and they keep coming back even though you've already taken them. Stella is notorious for this. So if you take them all, she goes and then comes back, and then as soon as somebody else needs to go, oh, I need to go again. But you just went. So find something to distract them. So give them a coloring sheet, give them activity, something that takes their mind off what they're thinking of. Usually works every time. So flexibility. So be flexible with them, be flexible with moms and dads. Sometimes the weather's bad and they come in a little bit late. Sometimes there's an emergency that happens and they have to come grab son or daughter and they have to get out of here. So just be flexible with them, and that's where it's good to have the teacher and the helper, because the teacher can keep the flow of class going and the helper can deal with those things. So just being flexible with, you know, things come up, you never know. I think we talked about styles. So engagement, definitely trying to capture their attention. So like I said, with the hands, with the eyes, with the mouth, give them responsibilities. So get them involved. Hey, can you pass out this? Can you collect these? Can you make sure your table has all the crafts that they need? It helps keep them engaged, and it helps keeps their attention. And like I talked about with the bathroom thing, if there's something that's distracting them, like where we are currently, I put the dividers up so that the kids in the 3 to 5 can't see the TV. But there were a couple times where Andrew put the dividers in the wrong spot so that the kids could see across. So then I had to put stuff in front of it so that the kids couldn't see the TV, because they're just sitting there staring at the TV. So just stuff like that. Be flexible with it. And then, okay, so the last thing I want to show you before we break is an object lesson. So object lessons, take something physical, tangible, or that you can see, and it helps explain the gospel. So I did this on Easter, and it was amazing because the kids were like blown away. So I'm gonna go set it up in another class, and then I'll have you guys come down. So feel free to fill it with water. This one has bleach, so it makes it yellow. How you can kind of play that off with the lesson is just say, well, this is Jesus in his glorified body, so he's glowing, he's shining. And then you've got sin, and you've got yourself. So iodine. So there's a chemical reaction that occurs with bleach and iodine, which makes something kind of cool. So what you do, what I did basically was said, you know, these are the 3 things that we had. So the world originally was pure without any sin. There was no problems. And then sin entered into the world in the Garden of Eden. And as it entered in, it polluted it. And it makes a big mess. So you add a bunch to that just to get the good red color going. Stir it up. So there was Eve's temptation, then there was Cain killing his brother, and all the wicked people that God destroyed when the flood came. And so all this sin came and it tainted the world away from being pure how it was originally in the garden. So put a whole lot in there, get it nice and red. Okay. There we go. So now Jesus came, and when he came, he was tempted by sin as well. 3 times, right? So the original temptation, if you're hungry, turn the bread into water, or turn the rocks into bread. So there's one. He was tempted again when he was taken up to the top of the temple, and he said, well, just throw yourself off, the angels will catch you. He was tempted the 3rd time when he took him to the highest point of the earth and said, all this could be yours if you just bow down before me. Now, despite all those temptations, he was never polluted with sin. So then we talk about us. Right? Sin comes into our life, so you're talking to little kids. So when you punch your little brother because he stole your crayons. Okay? When you steal something from the grocery store because you want the candy bar and you get in trouble for it. When you tell a lie to your mom and dad. So all this sin comes into our lives, and then we become polluted as well. Okay? So, can we ever become pure again? Or are we always going to be tainted with the sin for the rest of our lives? So the kids answer, no, Jesus. We have Jesus in our heart, okay? So if we have Jesus in us, can it purify us? Yes, so it can, okay. So do you ever think that this can go back to being just pure and clean? And so the answer they gave was no. So that's where you take this. So if we have Jesus in our heart and in our life, and we live it out that way, then he can purify us from all the sin in the world. So, that big round of applause, all the kids are happy, it's amazing, and so that's an object lesson. It was good for Easter, but there's a bazillion other different things. You can find them on Pinterest. You can find them all throughout, I think even at like Family Christian. I think they've got books of just different things you can do. So, relatively inexpensive, and it really drives home the point. So I found, like I talked about, where you do like 5 or 10 minutes of teaching, then cycle back to an activity, then cycle back, and then so this really drives home the point, and it helps them understand it. So for me, that worked really well, and so I try to incorporate these where I can. So any questions? Because that's pretty much all
Did
that
the
I
kids
have.
know there was bleach in there?
No.
Okay.
So they couldn't see any of the chemicals.
Okay, got it.
And even the older ones, they couldn't figure it out. But it was awesome. So it was a cool visual
It
indicator.
would have tricked me at first, too.
Yeah, so I found it online. There's different versions too. You can take a powdered ammonia, and they put it on a cross, and then they do the exact same thing, and it's just a full thing that looks like this, and you dip the cross in and swirl it around, and all of a sudden the color dissipates. So a really cool visual thing. Man, it's cool. Look at this, the AC works. So, does anyone have any questions? That's kind of everything that I had and I wanted to go over.